it's kind of a bittersweet thing. Just being on this land and you can feel the history pretty much coming out of the ground.
You know, Black and brown communities often face the most deadly forms of environmental pollution and contamination. Black people were relegated to, you know, swampy areas, the areas that were really close to industrial operations that, you know, that polluted and contaminated the land.
You are crumbling from within with no resources, and everything is blamed on that community or the Black person. But it starts earlier.
You need to know what's going in your body. And you have to have data and scientific proof to back it up.
I really would love to see community science, one, become more mainstream and more common, but also I would love to see impacted communities be the ones leading those efforts.
It's not that, you know, people don't want to do it or we're not doing it. It's just we're not getting the spotlight and afforded access to it.
Until we take time to pause and listen to folks who are experiencing the worst of environmental impacts, and until we invite people in to the movement, then it's always going to be the same thing. It's always going to be whitewashed.
Bird watching, that's for older white people. They say like you're a young Black man, that's the polar opposite, you know, you're in the wrong direction. And those are the walls that need to be broken down. I mean, because that kind of thinking does a lot more damage to both sides, not just to one.
It's like an invisible enemy. You sitting here don't know what's going on. Just like with COVID, we already got pollution going on every day. You got 4 or 5 industries compiling one community. That's a lot for us to handle on a daily basis.
If people knew the air quality right where they were at the street level in their neighborhood, how much better their lives might possibly be if they knew, you know what, I better not go for a walk today. I better not let my kids play basketball outside today.
They don't have no information, no data. They keep saying, we don't have no data on the deaths. We don't have data on what people got cancer. So I said, wait a minute, we need to do something. So guys said, we're going to come, we're going to have this. We're going to, would you mind? I volunteer. I said, hey, you got me. Hey, I'm going to do it.
One thing that we're doing with residents is getting air monitors, right, in different neighborhoods that we know are experiencing daily air pollution.
And so each one of these little shields here has a different component inside to measure different types of pollution, temperature, humidity. So this project is it's completely open source. I did that because you know, I'd love to make money, but also would love to make sure that citizens have access to this pollution data.
Air pollution is different, you know, on different days. So we work with folks to recognize what they're experiencing, and then we work with people to report the air pollution for themselves.
Maybe even they can take a look at that data and do other kinds of science projects on it, and see if they can correlate pollution with health outcomes and things like that.
So I did a little experiment with them. This experiment, I said, well, I'm gonna do one at daytime, and then when I do the second day, I'm gonna do it at night. It's like at night, it was just out of pocket. It was just totally smell horrific. And I mean, that thing was just, you could see the meat on the thing just moving. I mean, it was jumping. And when we got the results back, I was not shocked at all, because I knew that had to be some of the chemicals were smelling so terrible. So it's been a great experience, and I wouldn't mind doing it again, because a lot of people, after they gave the results and told people about it at the meeting in January in North Birmingham, they were saying, was anybody else interested? People looking like they was terrified. So I said, hey, I'll do it again.
Community science definitely means that people are at the helm of developing the different methodologies, the different practices, and the analysis. It's not about people coming in and studying community and then taking, the information that they learn away. It's about the community coming together to develop whatever project is at hand, working with researchers, and then carrying out analysis for themselves to build the power and the knowledge in the community.
You need to know what's going in your body. And you have to have data and scientific proof to back it up. So with that being said, you got the proof. You got to let people know, hey, this is wrong. This is what you're doing. You can't lie and say you're not putting out benzene because this is what we found. So if they say they're not having it, that's what they're doing. They're lying.
And what I really hope comes out of this is that we can say, this is a problem. You have the evidence. Now do something about it.
Right to Breathe campaign. Okay? People have lied. People have went to jail. Enough is enough. And it starts with all of you, and it starts today.
Oh my gosh. I gotta get that good selfie. So I'm doing an interview and check what's. Wood storks. Ah! They are everywhere.
Alabama Audubon is a chapter of the National Audubon Society. We were founded in 1946 as the Birmingham Audubon Society, and in October of 2019 our membership met and voted to change our name to Alabama Audubon to help reflect more of our statewide reach. We have a wealth of different kinds of habitat for birds all throughout the state. We see over 400 species here flying through every year. You can submit your bird sightings, submit your data, and help scientists get a better understanding of birds that they're seeing, declines in their population. A lot of people get involved bird watching either just from their backyards or taking field trips like we do throughout the state.
There are all these really interesting birds that you can find in the Black Belt because of where it's seated at the foot of the Appalachian Mountains.
The Black Belt in Alabama, the soil was rich and cotton grew very easily, so that became the synonymous with the Black Belt of Alabama.
It's kind of a blessing and a curse, just being on this land, and you can feel the history pretty much coming out of the ground. And that's one of the things that made me feel just good to be here with that, my grandparents, my parents, and now it's in the lap of, my brother and the rest of our siblings, and it's one of the things that we're responsible for, that we want to do good that's on top of this land, because, it has a bad history.
We reached out and connected, and we are partners now, and we hosted one of the first Black Belt birding tours, and we had 130 plus people, so that was featured in the Alabama Audubon, and then also featured at the National Audubon.
As a painter, I take my easel and I just go to various locations and just stop by the road or wherever the subject matter is and just start painting. So to see a black guy standing around by himself in front of a building, I'm thinking, oh gosh, somebody's gonna think I'm suspicious, I'm up to no good, expect the police, that kind of thing. Like I said, it's sad, but it's I have to know how to play the game, and the rules of the game aren't the same across the board, and I just have to be ready for that. But what gets me through is knowing that when I do create art, there'll be people to come by and say positive things about it.
I look in a magazine, outdoor magazine, I don't see myself in there. I look on TV on the Outdoor Channel, definitely don't see myself on there. I mean, what am I gonna do? Well, I'm gonna start it, because if I don't see it, and at least I can go and look at my old videos and boom, there go that guy again. I'm big on Instagram. I think that's my favorite social media platform. Some of the folks know that I'm doing kind of bird tours. And then next thing I know, I see something on somebody's page that said Black Birders Week. And I'm like, Black Birders Week?
I mean, like, hey, you know, I'm a young black man and I love nature and I go birding and I'll draw pictures about it, and it's okay. Like, we kind of made the big hurdle about the issue that happened with the black birder, and how it drew so much attention, and it got people to really start asking uncomfortable questions like, well, why did this even happen, or why can't somebody go and bird in peace, and that got the ball rolling.
I think I'm being that connector back to nature, getting my community to see that the science field is something for us.
When we moved here to Auburn, we bought a house that had a little pond on it. So I got thinking I should test the water in this pond because people are fishing on it. So I had heard about the chemical testing and the bacteriological testing that Alabama Water Watch was doing, and I looked and saw they had a certification program, so I went and did the free workshops and got certified, and went out with Sergio one morning to practice, and then said, okay, I'm ready, I'll do some sites.
We just try to get citizens to know better their waters, and if, take some action if something is going on.
Our mission is to train community members in how to collect credible data, how to understand what contributes to water pollution. We hope that that's going to empower them to make a difference in their local watersheds.
Lo and behold, within a few years, our pond starts turning orange. And construction was happening on the other side of the wetland that was feeding into the pond. So all this orange clay water was just pouring out and going into our pond. Learning through Water Watch, I went back to the data that I was collecting on the pond. I was able to show that the turbidity previously, for 2 years before that, had been, 10, 15. When it was orange, it was 280 parts per million. So we start reporting this to the Alabama Department of Environmental Management, and some things started happening.
Stewardship is basically taking care of our watersheds, our water resources, our environment, so that future generations can also benefit from it.
As you realize, I'm Hispanic, and I had a hard time finding a good word in Spanish for stewardship. And the best one, I think, is kind of being a custodian, taking care of something, but taking care of something for love, because they are paying you to do it. Here in Alabama, we have had about 8,000 citizens going through our program. And even from the early days of Water Watch, 26, 27 years ago, we had a great program going on in the Philippines and in Thailand, in Ecuador. In the Philippines, their data as a community members was very powerful, was very helpful to create the first Clean Water Act in the Philippines.
I think as a program, we're always looking for ways to be better and for ways to include everyone. We just recently finished a project with some of our Alabama Cooperative Extension System colleagues that was really focused on encouraging members of the Hispanic community to participate in recreational fishing, in boating on the water. It was, I think, in September. It was as hot as it is today. We did all this work setting up, and we really almost had no participation. And it was really hard because we'd worked really hard. And it was the first time in my career that I've had an event like that, where no one showed up. But we all looked at it as a great opportunity to really recognize, okay, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? How can we do this better?
The first 2 or 3 steps are the ones that are more difficult, We feel like, once you're, on the 4th step, the engine keeps moving.
We had sort of a happenstance connection with a local community group that works with Hispanic families. They really liked the idea of what we were doing. We tried again with the second family event, and just by having that one community partner who kind of got to know us and gained trust, that we were doing this for positive reasons, we really had an interest in the community. I think from that one organization we had at least 50 people show up. So it was just a moment where that made all the difference. With that project, we didn't necessarily have community science. We weren't able to train people directly to monitor, But when you're looking at community science like Alabama Water Watch, I think back all the time to the environmental education kind of continuum. You aren't going to get people to take action if they don't love the place that they're concerned about, the water, if they're not aware of the things that are threatening it, if they don't understand how it all works.
And they are asking for more events.
The folks who were involved loved it, and yeah, so we're looking for ways to continue that model.
So a lot of what we think about ourselves is injected. And those are the kind of things that start to develop in young people, that nobody cares about me. And some point that I deserve that. So you develop that fight back attitude, not an involvement attitude, but an angry, I gotta fight to achieve anything. So what I tried to do is come involved and not physically change things, but what I really wanted to do was interject the mind and the heart. WELP is an acronym for Wetland Environmental Learning Project. And we coined that name after a lot of deliberation and a lot of thought, because what we want to do was to encompass our mission, and that is to bring people in to teach them and have them involved in the environment. Not just structured learning, but experience learning. Every activity they do, we want them to be able to assimilate it and relate it to the environment. If you're eating breakfast, if you're eating the sausage from Hardee's, if you're drinking a milkshake, what you do has an impact. It could be beneficial or it can be negative. So that's what we want the kids to do, is to start to think. That is one of our themes. Think, think, think. And then when you put that mind to rolling, you will start discarding some of the things that you believe in, picking up and placing that with something else. And it's a 5-day course that we have here that's really beneficial. And so it's been a reward in a lot of ways, because that's what I like to do. I was helped a long time ago, coming off the farm. Someone saw something in me that I didn't even know myself. The thing, it was brutal when I first, BRUTAL, when I first came on. I was one of the first classes that started working with USD in Alabama and Georgia and Mississippi, where Judge Frank M. Johnson, the Southern Court, said you gotta hire some blacks. I was in the first or second group. And you couldn't start out as a conservationist or an engineer or anything like that. You had to be a soil scientist. That's where everybody went to the woods and went in the field and tried to hide us. I'm just telling it like it is. And they would bet who was gonna make their end quit first. I'm serious about it. That's what they said. They wouldn't eat lunch with us, put on the back of the truck, stand aside in the cornfield at the hottest days. So when we got in another position, we ourselves had to implement change. And that's how you have to do. You can't demand people to change. You have to show them why they need to change. And that's what my group and the first and second class did with NRCS. And I didn't get any encouragement. They told me, they tried to fire me 2 or 3 times. But they said, you'll never be a good soil scientist. And I turned out to be pretty good, you know. I like what I've become.